this is Russ. Once again, I have another bike to show you guys. Take a look at this one. This is the Pedego Avenue. I like this one. I kind of like all my bikes, you know that. Because I don't take bikes unless I think they have something to offer. I think the Avenue stands out immediately. The first time you see it is because of those mag wheels. Yeah, they're nice. We'll talk about that in a second here. But here's what I wanted to tell you about the Pedego. The Pedego was the first company that actually contacted me and asked me to go to one of their retail stores to pick up the bike. Yeah, it wasn't shipped to me. It was actually sent to Pedego, Wakanda, Illinois. And the owner there, Paul, put the bike together for me and everything. I just had to go and pick it up. That was nice. Yeah, I didn't do a thing. I did not do a thing to build it. So Paul is a really nice guy. If you're ever out in the Wakanda, Illinois area and you're looking for a bike, definitely go take a look at his offerings. He's got a whole bunch of Pedego bikes there. It's a different approach, that's for sure, because many of the bikes that we've had in the past, yeah, you got to build it yourself and they come online and all that. No, you can place your order, pick it up there, and they'll build it for you. Or better yet, go into the stores and talk to the owners and find out which bike works best for you. So I had featured this bike on one of my rides in the past. Told you guys to guess what bike it was, and yeah, a couple of you guys guessed it was the Pedego. And I think what gave it away was the color, first off. And I think this one's called Caribbean Blue, if I'm not mistaken. And then I think you saw a little bit of that mag wheel. Let's take a look at the mag wheels here. Yeah, it's kind of distinctive, right? so it was pretty much an easy thing to guess if you know the e-bikes. So here's what I find that's interesting with the Pedego brand. First off, it is sold through stores, right? And they have, I think, over 200 stores nationwide and here in the United States. And it is a U.S. company. Yeah, they bring the parts in, they put it all together for you, and you go get it from a store, which means you have retail dealer support. And that's becoming more and more important nowadays with e-bikes. So, all right, let me answer the question that everyone's always asked me, right? Here's the bike battery. Underneath here on the down tube, you see a little strip of black. That is the battery. It goes all the way down. It's a long battery, all right? Did they give me a second one? I know, that's a common question now. Yes, Pedego gave me a second battery. Thank you, Pedego. So we can take it farther. Here's an interesting thing. Mrs. Wright really likes this bike. I think she's gonna take it over from me. Yeah, I think she's gonna want this one. She's been wanting a full-size bike to ride. And so she says, I like this bike, I like the color, I like the mag wheels. She says, this is mine. And this is what happens, you know, they take a look at the things and then they take it over. All right, let me tell you a little bit about this bike. First off, the beauty of the bike, of course, is the fact that everything's put together for you. You don't have to do a thing. You just go to the dealer, tell them what you want, pay for the bike, pick up the bike when it shows up. It's all built and ready to go, okay? Now, it is your typical bike. It's nothing that stands it out specifically other than, you know, some of the options that you can get on the bike. So the mag wheel is an option. You can get it with spokes. You can get it with mag wheels. I'll put the prices up here because the prices will vary depending on the options you put on the bike. And I don't know the price of everything. Like, for instance, I'm not sure what the cost of the rack is, the rear rack, but the rear rack is also optional. Paul gave me a bag in the back, which is kind of nice. It's a small little bag, but it keeps a lot of things in there for me. He also changed out the saddle for me. If you notice, this is a bigger, cushier saddle. What normally comes with it is a skinnier, thinner saddle. He asked me, he says, you know, a lot of people change out the saddle to this thicker, bigger one. Do you think you would want that instead? I told him, I said, take one look at me. What do you think? Yeah, so we swapped it out. And he already had this on a Satori suspension seat post. Now, this is a different type of suspension seat post than the ones we had seen in the past. This one just goes up and down, okay? But it seems to work. Yeah, it's a little more simplistic, but it definitely works for me. So if it can fit my weight, it can fit anybody's. All right. It has an adjustable handlebar stem, so you can change the angle, and Paul offered to change it for me if I needed to, but I said, no, it's okay. I says, I've done enough of these bikes. I know how to change the angle of it. It's right over here. It's pretty easy to do. So, but yeah, where he put it was actually perfect for me. They also gave me a Pedego cell phone mount. Okay, this is not part of it. This is something I put on here. It's just an external light. They do have a light right here, which is actually pretty bright. Small little light, but it's pretty bright. But the interesting part is, let me see if I can kick this in here. The rear tail light, I don't know if you can see it in the bright sunlight, but this thing is extremely bright. I think this is the brightest tail light I've ever seen on any of the bikes that's been given to me. And of course, if you pull on the brakes, let me see if I can do this while holding the camera there, it will blink when you pull on the brakes. Okay. The fenders are optional as well, but they gave me the fenders. These are metal fenders, black fenders. It does come with a derailleur system from Microshift. And this is trigger shifters. And you know how I like trigger shifters. So yeah, I like the trigger shifter. Now, it is a half twist throttle, but as I do on most of my bikes, I put this 3D printed thumb throttle attachment. I get this printed at my local library. Yeah, they have a service. If you give them the file, they'll print one of these things up for you, and then all they charge you is the cost of the plastic, really. It's like 50 cents. And then you got to buy a screw and a nut. So I prefer the thumb thrusters, thumb throttle. So I usually put this on every single bike that I have. As far as brakes are concerned, Bengo brakes. Okay, I'm seeing more and more Bengo brakes coming on. This is a mechanical disc brake, and I believe the rotors. Let me see if I can do this without the bike turning on me here. Is 180 millimeter disc rotors. Now you might say, well, it doesn't have hydraulic brakes. I don't think you need it on this one, to tell you the truth. The bike is relatively light in weight, and I found that it stops very well. I'm beginning to like more and more these thinner tires. Yeah, this is I believe a 28-inch tire with a 2-inch width, something like that. And I'm beginning to like these more and more, and especially with the mag wheels. As you know, that I've had some bikes that had some issues with the spokes not being tensioned properly. Well, you're not going to have that problem with the mag wheel. So when Pedego asked me, what do you think of using this bike as one that you would highlight in your videos? And I said, yeah. So I told him I would prefer this color. I would prefer the mag wheels. And I would prefer the larger battery. They have different size batteries. I asked them for the longer battery. I'll put a graphic up here as far as what the battery is. It's a 48-volt system. And if they didn't mind, if they would give me a secondary battery so I can go further with it. And so yeah, they did. So it's nice. Let me show you something else I thought was kind of interesting. We'll get back to the bike in a second here. So I brought it with me here. This is their charger. I don't think I've ever shown you guys chargers. But what I liked about it, it's a nice charger, but yeah, the cord kind of matches the bike. Well, very close. I mean, it's not perfect, but kind of matches the bike. Now, I had to wonder, do they do that for all of the different color bikes, or is it always this color? That I have no clue, because obviously I don't have multiple Pedego bikes at this point. So, and then they also gave me the Pedego Quick Fix Sealant and Tire Inflator. So if I get a flat, I can use this thing to inflate the tire and also fill up that little hole that might be there. Might help get you back home. So these are options, of course, and they gave this stuff to me in the bag. Paul gave to me. So he just kind of said, yeah, I think you might need this. So he put it in the bag for me and everything. Oh, and he also gave me a bottle cage. I don't know if this is part of Pedego or not, but he gave this to me. He already installed it already. I kind of like it. Kind of crank it down. It stays stuck in there, and get that bug off my bike. Oh, and I like their logo. Let me show you the logo here, Pedego. So the Pedego logo, if you look on the D, it's like an electric plug. And then on the O, it's like an electric outlet. Yeah, kind of cool. This is a pure Class 2 bike in the sense that it does 20 miles per hour. You can throttle this to 20 miles per hour. It doesn't matter if you're on pedal assist level 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. The pedal assist will give you full power pedal assist. I'm sorry, the throttle will give you full power throttle no matter what pedal assist level you're at. Okay. It is not designed to go past 20 miles per hour. You cannot unlock it to go beyond it. It's basically a Class 2 bike. So any place that takes Class 2 bikes, which is most of our paths that allow e-bikes, will allow this bike. Now the interesting part is if you look, it's very hard to tell that this is an e-bike. Even the down tube is not a fat down tube. They went with the longer battery, but it's pretty well hidden that it's an e-bike. Yeah, so I think if you rode past somebody really quickly, you might not notice that it's an e-bike. Nothing really gives it away that it's an e-bike. So yeah, what do I think of the bike so far? Well, I've ridden it for a little while, as I usually do. Oh, one more thing. This does not come with it. This is a rear view mirror that I put on. I always put on my own rear view mirrors. I don't think any of the bike companies actually give you a rear view mirror. Side view mirror, actually. So yeah, I added that. Get a mirror, okay? So what do I think so far? Well, I'll tell you. At first I looked at this bike and said, you know, this bike is close to $2,000 or more, depending on options. This one's a little more because I put better components on there. Is this bike worth it? And I said, yeah, actually I kind of think it is, because it's a 500 watt motor, so it's a smaller motor, which means it's going to be more efficient use of that battery. Your motor's not going to eat up your battery is what I'm saying. So you should be able to get some decent range out of this. And it's more nimble because it's a lighter weight bike. The tires being a 28-inch by 2-inch wide tire, very easy to turn. I'm beginning to like these thinner tires over my big fat tires. I do have the big fat tire bikes. I like them a lot, but there's times you kind of want to be more nimble, and these bikes will do it. So yeah, how do I feel about it? It's a fairly peppy bike. Yeah, for a 500 watt motor, it does what it needs to do, and it's smooth. That's the first thing that I noticed. Acceleration is very smooth on it. It's got decent pickup for the size. It doesn't jerk when you hit the throttle or anything. It's a very smooth pickup. Yeah, I think anyone who would like to get into a basic bike that doesn't look like a big monster bike, this is it. Now they told me that they've been working on this bike for a long time, and I think they did a good job. Yeah, I really do. Like I said, Mrs. Wright loves this bike. She really does. She goes, that's mine. Didn't I tell you guys that she kind of just takes over the bikes that she likes? All right, we're going to have to lower the saddle for her. She doesn't go as high up as I do. You can see how high I have that saddle. But again, keep in mind too, when you have a suspension seat post, the minute you sit on it, it's going to compress down a little bit. So you have to have the saddle a little bit higher than you think. Then when you sit, it compresses, and then you might have the proper extension that you like. It takes a little while to get used to that type of feel, but it works. And again, it's not a standard thing on the Pedego bike. It's something that Paul put on there for me. So ask your dealer. I'll guarantee you they have options for you too. They can do the same thing for you. This is the better saddle. The one that comes with it is one of those thin, non-padded, I call them non-padded saddles. Well, it's fine, you know, it's designed for this type of bike, but you know, for big guys like me, yeah, we need a saddle that has a little cush to it, right? This one is kind of cushy. Yeah, it's got the Pedego name in the back too. So yeah, there you have it. Like I said, it's simplicity, right? But it works well. That's the difference. All right, I think we need to take this bike out on a ride. What do you think? Let's take it on the road. Let's see how it performs. Sit tight. All right, let's see how this bike does. I decided to take this out on the streets because I kind of see this as more of a commuter type bike. You might be going around town, getting things, bringing things back, right? And the one thing I noticed with the Pedego Avenue is it's a very smooth pickup. Even if you're just pedaling, the bike doesn't jerk you or anything. It's a very smooth startup. When you throttle, there's no hard startup there either. It smoothly goes. I think that's the highlight of this bike. It is so smooth. And they tell me they've been working for years on this bike. Now, considering it's the most basic of the Pedego bikes, you would think what would take them so long to work on this bike, but I think what they've been doing is they've improving the bike. They're making a bike that's more simplistic in design, but has a nice feel to it. That was the first thing I noticed with this bike as I took it out. Here's just the throttle. It's smooth. There's no jerking at all to this. It is very smooth. I think anyone who buys this bike, if they're looking for something that's not like your big fat tire bikes, you're looking for something that can ride like a regular bike. Let me move it up to pedal assist level 5 here. It could ride smoothly. Now you notice too, based on my battery meter, I've been riding the bike a little bit before I turned on to this recording. I'm down to 2 bars on my battery meter. But if you're looking for something that's easy to ride, doesn't look like an e-bike, because I mean that down tube is so thin, I don't think people would even know this was an e-bike. It really looks like a regular bike. And yet you've got enough power at 20 miles per hour. You can do very well on it. If you don't want to use heavy pedal assist, yeah, drop down to pedal assist. Ride it like a regular bike if you wanted to. It's not as heavy as a regular e-bike, typical e-bikes would be. Yeah, and the stop is very smooth too. Yeah, I don't think you need hydraulic brakes on this bike. The mechanical disc brakes do just fine. Now keep in mind too, when you have a mechanical disc brake, let's turn over here. As the brake pads wear, and of course they will, because all brake pads wear, I don't care what kind of device you have, whether it's a car or a bike, you will have to make adjustments down the road. And that's relatively easy to do. You just gotta learn to do it. It's just a click of a little screwdriver type of thing. You know, I use hex drivers that are they kind of look like a long hex driver. I don't use the ones that are all-in-one hex drivers. You know, I have individual ones. And just that one little adjustment would take care of it. There's also little barrel adjustments right here on your handbrake levers. You just screw that out a little bit. That'll put some additional tension on the line. But yeah, you got to learn to do it on the brake calipers as well. But that's a quick fix. There's the bell. The bell is actually on the left hand brake, which I really like, because then you don't have to even move your hands, and you got a bell to let people know you're coming. Yeah, it's just right by your index finger right here on your left hand side. So yeah, it's a nice feel. I'll put some footage here. I rode around, like I said, I rode around a little bit earlier, and we'll just let it roll so you can see me riding. It's an enjoyable ride, is basically what I'm saying. A lot of road construction going on in this area. every road I look at, there seems to be fresh asphalt or something put down. So yeah, here's what I'm gonna say. If you're looking for a bike that is not going to grab attention that it's a big, monstrous 4-inch fat tire bike. These are the kind of bikes you really should look at. Yeah, they have 2 different battery options depending on how much battery range you like. As you know, I like my range. All right. So if you have an option for one that has less amp hours or more amp hours, I always pick the one with the more amp hours. And they even gave me a second battery too, so I could take this bike even further. I'll tell you that battery is very long too. It would really stick out of the rear rack. I have to devise some way of actually mounting it so that it's secure, so I can take it with me. Now, some people will just leave it in their car or something like that, and then they would swap it out when they see it lowering down. But I go some distance sometimes, and I like having the battery with me. So if I'm out and there's no more battery left, I can just swap out the battery. There's a little key that goes into the little slot there. Turn it, drops the battery out. So, as you know, I always leave the keys hanging right here in the front. And that's because I never leave my bike anywhere. I have too many bikes to try to figure out which keys go to which bikes. Easier for me to just leave it there. But for you guys, definitely take it off of there. You know, secure the battery key, and then when you need to remove the battery and swap the battery out, is easy enough to do. Let's turn here. Yeah, I like it. It's very smooth. The suspension seat post adds a lot. It's not one of the more expensive suspension seat posts. It's a more basic unit. It just goes up and down only. It doesn't go back to the rear, towards the rear, I mean. The Sun Tour seat post will do that. But this is, again, I believe, just something that Paul added to it. And he asked me if I wanted that with the better saddle, and of course I said yes. And I kind of like the fact that he did it, so I can actually compare how this seat post does, ones that go just up and down compared to the ones that go slightly backwards. And that's what the Sun Tours do. Sun Tours seat post, of course, is more expensive, but yeah, between the two, the Sun Tour is better. there's no doubt. But for something like this that's a little bit more basic, how was it? And I'd say, yeah, it was pretty nice. It's still, you can still feel it. It's better than a hard seat post, I'll tell you that. So yeah, get a suspension seat post. I think you'll enjoy that better. There is no front fork suspension here. It is an option, I believe. Talk to your dealer. The dealer will tell you everything that you need to know of what the bike can do, what it has to offer, what they can add to it. Between some of the other options that are already there, yeah, get a rear rack. You can't carry anything if you don't have a rear rack, right? Get a rear rack. Get the fenders too. I don't like to be splashed from the bikes if there's no fenders. And I've had a couple bikes in the past where the fenders weren't there. And yeah, you go over some water, and next thing you know, you're all splattered. Yeah, I was actually out in California. I saw somebody who had a bike, and his whole back was splattered. Yeah, I'm not kidding. His whole back was splattered because he probably ran over some water and stuff, and the rear tire just splattered it up, and his whole back looked like it was just like, I don't know, I think they call that a rooster tail. Yeah, I'm sure he wasn't too happy. Yeah, get some fenders. Definitely add the fenders. So, thank you to Pedego for giving me this bike to try out too. I really appreciate it. I know Mrs. Wright is going to really appreciate it because I think she's going to steal this bike from me. I guarantee you she's going to steal this bike from me. It's okay. She always says it's hers, but I always take it when I need it anyway. I've done that with a couple of her bikes. Yeah, I'm taking your bike. Alright, anyways, if you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Go out and visit a Pedego dealer. There's a couple hundred of them across the country. Just go on their website, put your zip code in there. It'll tell you where to go. I'll talk to you guys next time.